안녕하세요, Cloud입니다. Hey guys, it's Cloud. This is a recap of How to Study Korean Lesson 5. You should be familiar with conjugating already, but this review will hopefully bring more understanding. I wouldn't worry too much if you're not getting it from the first time. Every single time you speak or hear someone speak or read something in Korean, verbs will always be conjugated, and you'll have plenty of exposure, so that'll help you master it. Alright, let's get into it. This is a very long lesson, so I had to group up some parts. I've divided the lesson into 4 parts. The first part, how to say I, me, and you. There are 2 main ways to say I in Korean, a formal and an informal way. The formal is 초, and the informal is 나. Now let's see what happens when we add some markers. When 초 or 나 are the subject of the sentence, you would add 는. That gives us 초는 and 나는. We've seen this before. Now when 초 or 나 are the object of the sentence, you would add 를. So it becomes 초를 and 나를. We also previously discussed that 이 or 가 can be attached to indicate that I is the subject, and this looks like this. 제가 and 내가. Now notice that 초 and 나 change to 제 and 내. That's it for this part. The word you in Korean isn't used very often, so there are many workarounds for this, such as using a person's title like boss or principal. Or in an informal setting, the word 너 can be used to mean you. I'd recommend taking a second look at this part of the lesson, as many different situations and ways of saying you are explained. Alright, into the meat of things. Verb conjugation. Conjugation in Korean has many shapes and forms, and what we learned in this lesson is called the diary form or the plain form. Although these conjugations are grammatically correct, they're rarely used in conversation. For the verb conjugation in the present tense, there are 2 situations. The first case is when the verb ends in a consonant, like 먹다. If we conjugate it based on the rules we learned in this lesson, we get 먹는다. The second case is if it ends in a vowel, like 만나다. And if we follow the rules, we should get 만난다. Conjugating the verbs in the past tense has 3 different cases. The first case is when the verb ends in a or o, you would add 왔다. Examples are 가다 becomes 갔다 and 보다 becomes 봤다. The second case is if the verb ends in u, i, o, or 여, you would add 었다. An example of this would be 배우다 becoming 배웠다, 믿다 becoming 믿었다, 열다 becoming 열었다, and 켜다 becoming 켰다. Alright, the final case is if the word ends in a ha. You would add 였다. This is the easiest since many Korean words end in 하다. Many Korean verbs and adjectives end in 하다, and they all conjugate the same way. 좋아하다, 좋아했다. The future tense conjugation is simple and easy. All you have to do is add 겠다 to the stem without any exceptions. Here are some examples. 하다 becomes 하겠다, and 가다 becomes 가겠다. I suggest taking a second look at the table at the end of the verb conjugation section on the How to Study Korean website for this lesson to see all the conjugations side by side. Alright, let's move on to adjectives. Let's talk about the present tense. The present tense conjugation for adjectives has 13 different cases. You must memorize all 13 by heart if you want any chance to speak in Korean. Let's start with case number 8 since it's the hardest. If any one of these 10 different vowels is in the adjective, then, I'm just kidding, adjectives are really easy to conjugate. You actually don't have to do anything. 길다 remains 길다 and is conjugated. 크다 stays as 크다. You don't have to do anything. It's very simple. In the past tense, well, it looks very similar to what a verb conjugation in the past tense is. And actually, adjectives and verbs both conjugate the same in the past and in the future tense. So all you have to remember is that adjectives don't conjugate in the present tense, while verbs do. An example would be 길다 becoming 길었다, and 행복하다 becoming 행복했다. In the future tense, 좋다 becomes 좋겠다, 배고프다 becomes 배고프겠다. Lastly, conjugating 있다 as a verb and as an adjective. Well, since it can be conjugated as either, it can get kind of complicated. Unfortunately, at this point, we've only learned enough Korean to worry about 있다 as an adjective and not as a verb. So for now, we should just worry about it as an adjective. And in later lessons, we'll see when 있다 is used as a verb. Here are some examples. 나는 차가 있다. I have a car. 걔는 집 안에 있다. The dog is in the house. Alright, that was a long lesson. Hopefully this helped summarize conjugation. If you're not sure why we conjugated things in certain ways, be sure to check out the full lesson online, as there are many more examples and detailed explanations. Next lesson will also deal with more conjugation, so be sure to look forward to that. Also, make sure to check out the other videos that go along with this lesson. As usual, links for all these will be in the description below.